Hi, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. Late on a Friday. Everyone settled in? Are we in order? Is that what you guys were trying to do there?
It's okay.
Okay, I think it's okay. So
figure it
we
out.
are here to talk about failures because people don't talk about them enough. But I'd love to just start by having everybody introduce themselves, tell us the brand that you are the founder of or that you run and your position. Kind of keep it brief and just kind of go from there. Do you want to start, Andrew?
Sure, yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to FounderMade. Thanks, Alana, for hosting this one. So I'm Andrew, co-founder, executive chairman at Clearco. Started the company. We started the company in 2015 out of a product of just struggling to work with investors, raise capital, seeing both sides of the coin. We can talk through on the panel the upsides and downsides of giving up equity to grow and run your business. And we've backed over 8,000 founders in 11 countries now. But we're on our way to our goal is to back 1 million founders. So we're very early in that journey. But the goal, it's providing capital to fund inventory, marketing spend, things that are repeatable in your business. We don't think you need to give up equity. We don't think you need to give up a personal guarantee on your life to be able to fund your business to grow. And especially in an environment like this where investors can be a little bit risk off and banks can be a little bit expensive. So we exist to try and help founders like everyone here.
Great, thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Taryn. I'm one of the co-founders of Bloom, and we're a self-care, skincare, period care startup that started out D2C, and now we're omni-channel, so you can actually find Bloom at Sephora and Ulta as well. And we exist to change the stat that 60% of girls and women can pinpoint that their self-esteem plummets as they go through puberty. So we never Photoshop images ever. We promote healthy skin over perfect skin. And we exist to essentially set a new standard for the next generation of women so they can grow up and be thriving and confident.
Hi, I'm Karen Zuckerman. I'm a two-time founder. My first company was a creative agency that I started when I was 24, and I grew and sold in 2018. But about 10 years ago, with my daughter, who's sitting over there in purple, we came up with the idea for Dormify. And Dormify is a home decor brand for Gen Z, and we focus on the college market. We design and manufacture everything that you need for small spaces, so comforters, pillows, throws, posters, anything you need to create a comfy small space.
And if you haven't seen their booth, it's over there and it's awesome. So make sure you check it out.
5th floor. So I'm so excited to be here today.
So I'm going to tie this all together. So basically, we all know that one of the biggest hurdles to growing a business is capital. We all know that. It's hard to get investors. It's hard to keep, working capital going. And so we have Clearco here, and both of your companies use Clearco, love Clearco. So this is like a really natural kind of fit. Why don't you tell us how you guys got involved with Clearco or how they're helping you? And you can kind of say why they're great partners for you. I don't know if you call them partners or clients or...
Yeah, just founders that we back, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so do one of you guys want to start or tell us how Clearco has helped you?
Yeah, I can start. So for any founder, one of the hardest things is raising money. And when we started Dormify...
Talk a little louder.
When we started Dormify, we did a little bootstrapping and we did a little friends and family. And after that, we raised a Series A, and then we raised a Series B. And then you find that you really need working capital and you don't want to give away any more equity. And it's really hard to get working capital when you're growing a business. So we got introduced to Clearco, and we've actually been funded twice by Clearco. The first time we used it just as working capital for advertising, and that was back in 2019. And then just this year, we did a much bigger round with them, and of course we've grown as a brand, and we needed working capital for our product. We design and manufacture product, and you have to order it way in advance before your selling season. And it's really hard to get banks to give you that money to fund your working capital, and we had such a seamless experience with Clearco. And Andrew and I were just talking about it. It's just like a pleasure to be able to do something with a company that's technology driven that can quickly fund you because they know that you have the capital to repay them. So we're really happy that we had the opportunity.
So would you say it's kind of like the new age, kind of 2022 version of a loan, or how would you kind of either one, whoever wants to take that?
Yeah, it's different than a loan, right? We're not taking security in the business. We're not taking personal guarantees. It's structured as a revenue share. So we use data to figure out what revenue you're gonna make and how you're gonna deploy that capital to improve the business, and we share in the upside and the downside of that.
So there's no risk for a founder, really.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Do you have an experience with Clearco why you started working with them, or how they've helped you that you want to share?
Yeah, I think very similar to what Karen said. For us, it was a lot to do with supply chain constraints over the pandemic, especially. And like you said, like we stock up big time on inventory for holiday. That's like our biggest season. And then you end up with this like summer crunch. And so being able to not raise equity for that and actually be able to use revenue-based financing is fantastic, because we're ordering, almost $1 million of inventory for the holidays, and then we need to fund ad spend as well. So it helps a ton.
And I assume investors like Clearco. I mean, your investors, your board members, they're probably all about it because they don't take equity, right?
Yeah, exactly. We allow founders to kind of be aggressive, especially in a market like this, right? Where you're kind of like, look, we know there's going to be a busy holiday season. You know you've got to stock up on inventory. You know that if you don't do it in advance, you could end up in a supply chain crunch, and you may not be able to meet the demand that comes up. And so we allow you to be a little bit more aggressive in advance, knowing that you've got the funding and knowing that you'll have the funding to sell through and market during the kind of high season.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to switch gears now and talk about failures. So let's get honest and open, and I would love to hear from you guys about something that you really felt like was a failure in your business life as a founder, or whenever, that propelled you to move forward. Who wants to start? I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I will.
I've got plenty, but go ahead.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah, go.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, I'll start. So this is something that I just like kick myself every day about, and I think a lot of people will resonate with this. So when we started Dormify, we were very scrappy. Everything was like grassroots. We started a blog. We had an ambassador network. It was growing. They were doing content for us. We were doing trunk shows in people's homes, and we were just running and gunning to do everything we could for organic growth. And then as we grew, we started to do digital marketing, and then we started to spend more money on digital marketing. And then the team said, it's too hard to do a blog, or it's too hard to deal with these ambassadors. And I would say, oh no, but they're great. Like we should continue this. And they said, it's just too hard. We're too small of a team. We can't do it. And so we slowly simplified our ambassadors from like 5,000 down to like 50 content creators. And our blog, like we let it go away. And guess what? Here we are in 2022, and guess what we're doing? We're building a whole new ambassador program. We, in 3 weeks, we got 1,000 ambassadors with like one email and one social post, and we're resetting our blog. And what happened is we lost 2 years of our organic growth, and it actually shows, and it costs us more money for digital marketing because we let that happen. And I just like, I'm angry at myself right now thinking about it, but I'm happy that we're resurrecting it. And I would say that the learning from it is like, stick with your gut and believe in what you believe in, and stick to it. And also right now, like, let's not all depend on digital marketing for what we're doing, and like get out there and be the brands that people love.
Awesome. Good example.
That's such a good learning lesson. And yeah, I mean, I know how that feels as a founder, but don't beat yourself up because you're doing it now. And
I was just going to say
you've done great things. But I think for me, and like you said, we have so many, so it's tough to think of one. But the one I'm going to share is the one that I think is the most helpful. And it's essentially the company we started before Bloom that it failed and we shut it down, and it was really hard to let go of. And the reason I share it is because of the lessons that we learned along the way. And so Bunny and I, she's my co-founder, we started that company in 2016, and it was really focused on reproductive health and organic period products. And we started as students when I was in law school, and she was doing accounting, and we really put a lot into that business, and we bootstrapped it out of our house, and we used our credit cards, and it really was like an amazing journey. And I think for us along the way, although it was growing, it was very slow, and there wasn't that pull from the audience. It was like a lot of pushing to get the word out, and that's kind of where, you know, we felt there was a bigger opportunity, but we also knew we had something, and what we had was the mission of what we were trying to change and the community we had built, but they wanted other things from us. And so we had to make the very hard decision to shut that company down. But it actually led to us using those insights to create Bloom. So I think my lesson in that would be that it's okay to fail, and it's okay to, you know, like we were just talking about, don't beat yourself up, but always take those learnings and use them and apply them in the future. And it's still going to be really hard, and you're still going to fail. But yeah, I feel like that was one of the hardest times for us because we had given up our careers. We had just started graduating, and yeah.
How did you know when that moment was to shut it down? I mean, who decided first, and how did you kind of say, okay, this business isn't working, we need to shut it down, pivot on to the next, especially after you put your credit cards and your money and your time and your effort into something? It's sometimes hard to say, that's it.
Yeah, and especially when you're someone that has a lot of grit and you don't like to give up. But I think it's like what you said, Karen, your intuition, where we knew we had something, but we knew this wasn't it. And actually what led us to the right thing was just talking to our customers and talking to our community, because the mission is what people latched onto, but the products weren't differentiated enough. And there was more that our community needed. And so that's, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that example, and I think this is one of the things I've certainly learned. I'm still learning, but one of the things that is so hard as a founder is you put so much of yourself and your identity into your business in the early days, and you know, the odds are so stacked against you. Every investor, a lot of customers, journalists, everybody is like, that's never going to work, right? People don't want to join you. It was really hard. I mean, I had friends that had worked with me at previous companies. I had friends that I'd known for 10 years being like, hey, I'm going to go start a bank. It was basically the original idea was like a bank for the new economy, right? A bank for founders. And they were like, that's a dumb idea. You can't do that. And so I just kept hearing that over and over. And when you're starting, you almost have to like have enough ego to push through that. You have to be like, no, I know what I'm talking about. Everybody else is wrong, right? So that's actually what gets you through that initial part. And then, so when you're hearing from the market that you're wrong, you kind of have to know, okay, well, once you've got conviction, you push your way through it. Then when it starts to work, that's when you have to flip it and be like, I don't have all the answers, right? Because then you can hold on too tight. And that has been something that, you know, Michelle and I have struggled with, you know, through the iterations and cycles and different ups and downs of the company, is knowing when to bet on yourself, when to follow your gut, and you know, like ignore the haters, and when to put your ego aside and say, actually, maybe the market is telling us something different. Maybe our team is, you know, maybe we got to go create room for our, you know, our executive team to step up, for our you know, to hear from our customers. And that's one of the hardest things, because it's just when it starts working that you actually have to put your own ego and your identity aside to let the company sort of you know, take a life of its own. And it's a real sort of mindfuck as an entrepreneur.
Okay, so I still didn't get a good example of a failure.
Oh, okay, great. So we went through a couple of.
But I did love everything you just said, and that was great.
Well, we went through a few iterations, right? So we had this idea of creating a financial services for the new economy, and it was originally gig economy workers. So we did a lot of work with Uber drivers, and we sort of had this whole idea. We did this big partnership. We were like a 2-month-old company. We did a big partnership with Uber, and then we realized that like Uber drivers don't operate like founders and entrepreneurs. It's sort of a part-time job, and then they leave. And so the unit economics were never going to work. And then we moved to Airbnb hosts, and we were like, hey, we're going to help people, you know, build Airbnb businesses, and this would be kind of an interesting thing. And it was the new economy. But again, I remember Valentine's Day. What was it? 20-something. We got like this letter, this like super aggressive letter from Airbnb, being like, don't do this. We don't want professional. You know, we didn't want like people running hotel chains on Airbnb. And we were like, this is our whole business. We just raised our Series A on this whole thing. And we had this little, like we had a handful of people that were doing e-commerce founders, right, and consumer brands. And we were like, there might be something here, and it looks like we're gonna, bet the whole company on it. And I remember going into a board meeting, and we were like, hey, I know you guys all just invested in this, but look over here, there's this whole other thing that we think is more interesting. And like the board was totally split. They're like, why don't you give it a little bit more time? It was coming into Q4, and we knew that it was like, okay, if we don't do it now, we're like, this is our opportunity. People need inventory financing. They're going to need marketing capital into Q4. If we don't do it now, we're not going to get a chance to do it. And so we sort of just kind of ignored our investors and went for it. And then that was 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah.
Is there anything you guys would tell your younger selves that you wish was advice that you could give yourself maybe when you first started, or sorry, I'm going off the book here, but maybe something that you wish you could have told yourself, or some wisdom you would impart on yourself when you were first starting? That might be kind of hard. I don't know.
Go ahead.
I've got, again, so many things that I wish I'd known. One of the things I tell our team a lot about is this concept of like finding your zone of genius, right? And it's the idea of like, what is the intersection of like what you find energizing and what your friends would say you're pretty good at, like you're better than most people at. And you can kind of spend more, and I try and do this every 6 months. I look at how I spent the last 6 months, and I'm like, how much of my time, like I look at my calendar, how much of my time am I spending in my zone of genius, right? And how much of my time am I spending doing the things that I think I'm, potentially one of the best people in the world at, and that really energizes me. And I actually, this is part of the reason why I transitioned out of the CEO role. I used to be the CEO of the company until earlier this year, and over the holidays I was reflecting, and I was like, man, my job has turned into mostly forecasting, planning, budgeting, sort of, the execution of the business, managing our executive team. And what I like doing is stuff like this, thinking about, what is the 100-year vision of the company? How do we get to 1 million founders? Doing big deals, the partnerships, the story, the product vision. And I wasn't spending any time doing that. And so the past 6 months of 2021 were less energizing for me. And Michelle, my co-founder and our CEO, loves doing that. She's a bootstrap founder. She's never raised outside capital. She loves understanding where every dollar is going, how we're maximizing efficiency. She's the perfect wartime CEO when cost of capital is going up, when investors get risk off. She is exactly who you want in that seat. And so that was a again, had to put my ego aside and be like, Michelle, you're the right person for this next chapter, and let me go do the things that I think I can do uniquely for the company. But I wish I had done that years ago also, yeah.
That is such great advice. I totally agree with that too, because I think for a long time when you first start the company, you think you need to be good at everything, and it's just not true. I think my advice for founders is that the only thing you're truly responsible for every day is managing your own energy and the energy you bring to your team. And that's taken me a while to learn, and I still don't get it right, because I think there's just so much going on at all times, and you feel like you're responsible for everyone's emotions and making sure everything goes right, and like you said, every dollar, and efficiency and growing revenue, even though the world is falling apart. And I think what I'm learning over the last year or even 2 years is that it's important to slow down, to speed up, and you don't have to have all the answers. And really what's important is taking care of yourself, your mental health, and then showing up in a way that makes other people feel more comfortable. And that's a lot of pressure as a leader, so I don't mean it in a way that you always need to have it together, but just that you don't need to be responsible for everything. You just need to be responsible for the energy you're bringing, and you will figure things out along the way, and you can lean on your team for that.
Yeah, you'll attract the right people by having the right energy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add?
Well, I'll just add one thing, and I would kind of play off of what you said. But if I was going to tell my younger self something, I would say you can do it, because a lot of us, I think, just don't take the opportunity. And when I was young, I used to sell stickers and lemonade and bracelets and all kinds of things like that. And I realized, looking back 50 plus years, I'm whoa, look what I've done. And along the way, I was always a little bit scared. And I'm how am I doing this? But if I knew, I think I would have moved faster, and I would have taken more on. But it's kind of just a journey. And 2 other things that I'm going to play off of. One is to always believe in yourself, because it's so important. And then the last thing, and I believe this so much, is that the glass is always half full. And if we aren't happy and thinking positively, nobody else is. So that's how I try to live, and that's what I try to share.
So I have a random question again, but I'd love to know, like, at what moment did your business sort of, everyone starts a business, right? And then, you know, there's generally like, if you're gonna make it, there's something that happens, right? Like there's some sort of a moment, whether you make a great partnership deal or you get this huge investor and then that's A, and then B happens. I'm just wondering, like, briefly, like, what your moment was. Have you had that moment yet, or what your first moment was like that? You're nodding, so I feel like you have something.
I have it.
Okay, let's hear it.
I have a moment. This was like one of those things that like your dream comes true, but American Eagle invested in us back in, I think, 2016. And it was kind of like we had worked with Aerie, and then we had worked with American Eagle, and we had Dormify products in the stores and on their website, and all of that, like when they had a window that said American Eagle times Dormify, we were like, oh my God. And I remember we just couldn't even believe it, and Amanda and I were standing there, and we were just like, can you believe this is happening? And I think that was our jumping off
I love that.
So I think for us, it was when we first launched, we thought that it was going to be like that moment, and really it wasn't. It was just crickets, and we were actually on like the front page of Fast Company, but still for some reason, like it was just quiet. But then, and this is in June, and then a few months later after we launched comes Christmas time, and we just had more orders than we could handle, and we didn't have money for inventory. Everything was blowing up. We were shipping out of our house. We had 5,000 boxes going out of our house every month. We're like hand packaging everything. And then we needed money desperately for inventory because we were bootstrapped and we didn't know. And so, yeah, our parents helped us out a little bit, but then we called up our investors and we raised like, I think $100,000 in 3 days. And then right after that, we were on the Today Show and we raised like a seed round. Yeah, so I feel like it was like nothing, and then we had worked really hard.
Where did all the orders come from? Do you have any idea?
It was just, I think it was just an accumulation of people starting to try the product, falling in love with it, and then just like the word of mouth, and it just went nuts.
So I don't know if this is a naive question, but wouldn't that be a moment where you could use Clearco?
Yeah, Clearco didn't exist, or if it did, we didn't know about it. It was in 2018.
We might have still been funding Uber drivers or something at that time. So very possible.
Do you have anything you wanted to add to that question?
You know, I think it's moments like that. I mean, it's moments where you kind of like, you're not clear on data. So the Airbnb to like e-commerce and sort of consumer brand D2C world, you know, there's not really clear data. You just go with your gut, and it could end disastrously, or it could take off, right? And I think every time we've made one of those, we've certainly had some that have gone, you know, not gone our way, and you learn very quickly and you correct. So you try not to make things that will absolutely kill your company. But you know, anytime you wait until you have perfect information, you wait until you have perfect data, it's too late, right? So just like getting enough, building conviction, being excited, and then jumping in with both feet. You know, so that was probably one of the moments for sure.
I'm going to pull a Megan and ask the audience a question. Can you raise your hand if you've ever worked with a family member before? Okay, so I see like 5, 6 hands up. On this panel, 2 people, their partners are immediate family members. How amazing is that? I'd love to hear any challenges that have come from that, or maybe there's been like a big fight that's turned into something amazing, or how you guys work together. I mean, not to be like controversial, but tell us how working with your sister and your daughter is.
Okay. So my daughter and I have been working together since basically she was 18. And it's been amazing, but sometimes she'll turn to me and say, I need you to be my mom and not my business partner. And it's hard because I'm actually was in a separate, my agency, I was in it with my husband. So I'm used to like talking business over the dinner table and things like that. So it's been hard, but one great thing about working with my daughter is like, you know, you have somebody you can trust. and she's the CEO of the company, so I work for her, and I'm the chairman, so she works for me. So we're like both, but I do work for her now, and it's awesome. But yeah, I love working with her, and she's so talented and creative, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
So cool. I love that.
Yeah, similar
Introduce
for Bunny and I. We started working together with our first company before the one I talked about earlier was actually a cake decorating company. And I think Bunny hated that one because she had to mix the icing most of the time. So we were actually up like super late in our kitchen, like baking cakes as students. And then I think we've just been used to doing everything together. We're 2 years apart. Our entire company is about going through just growing up together, and it's called Bloom, and it's about blooming. And I think my sister, more than anyone, has been there for me through all those times. And so it feels really natural, to be honest. Like, I think to your point, people don't believe us that we don't really fight, but I think it's because, like, she's a genius at all the things you talked about, like the supply chain stuff, finance, and so she handles that part of the business. I do a lot of the marketing and branding. We're just totally different brains. Yeah, so I'd say any co-founder you have having complementary skill sets, but I feel super lucky to work with my sister, and like you said, the trust is like unmatched. It's good to be able to be on the journey together.
That's amazing. So overall, I would just want to know sort of what is, not the end goal, but like what is that sort of line that you've set for yourself? So I know earlier you mentioned 1,000 founders.
Million founders.
A million,
Yeah,
sorry. Oh my God, that was very off.
It's like a 100-year goal, but we'll get there.
Okay, so like that would be your kind of like, that's your dream, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys have something similar that like you feel like, is it getting acquired for $50 billion? Is it, I mean, what is the?
Everybody wants that.
No, other than, that's
But,
obvious. Other than
beside that, as a company, we want to be like the ultimate college lifestyle brand. So not just home decor, but introducing college students to all new brands, like some of the ones that we're seeing today. And we've recently added Marketplace to our website. So we're able to drop ship other brands, and we're going to put a focus on it. So we want to be the Goop of college, basically, with our brand leading the way.
Yeah, for us, it's to change that stat that girls are essentially dropping out of STEM fields as they go through puberty, dropping out of sports at much higher rates than boys. And I think there's so much that contributes to that in the media, brands, and for us, it's really about building a more equitable world where there will be like, you know, more women in these rooms and on these panels. And really, our aspiration for Bloom is to be a global brand and be that go-to for everything puberty and beyond. So whether it be acne, period products, deodorant, and all of our products are clean, cruelty-free, and sustainable.
So we only have a minute left. Is there anything I didn't cover that you guys want to share? Or you feel like we covered everything? Is there any like messages that you would want to give to the audience? Any messages for future founders? A little pitch for your company? Any like kind of closing?
I'll pitch. Okay, so the only thing I would share is that I talked a lot about Dormify being for college, but one of the things that we really want to do, and we need your help with, is we really want Dormify to be a home decor brand for any small spaces. So from post-grad on to, you know, small apartments, guest rooms, things like that, but also like the 13-year-old who wants a new bedroom in their room, all the way then up to college. So we really focus on trend-forward products, and we want to share them with everyone. We don't want it to just be about college.
Cool, love it.
I'll just let you guys know where you can find Bloom in the US if you're looking for it. So we're carried in 600 plus Ulta locations, and then you can also find us at bloom.com.
Awesome. I'll just say one thing that like made me really proud this week. So we have there was a conference called Collision in Toronto. I saw a bunch of our former actually Clearco alumni. So the pitches, we've always been about, you know, like helping founders win, right? And we've had an incredibly entrepreneurial. It means that almost everybody, if you ever meet anybody who works at Clearco, they're a founder. They like live and breathe entrepreneurship, and they come from that world. And so we've had people that have come worked for us for 2-3 years, gone on and started companies, and like I've invested in them. They're now doing like, and it's like the alumni network and the group of people that are going. Like I hope that at some point the Clearco alumni build more valuable companies in Clearco. And it's like we're already off to that on that journey, and it makes me really proud. It feels really exciting to see that.
Actually, I want to add one thing, and that's just to say thank you to Andrew, because he was there when we needed him, and Clearco, the entire Clearco team, and it's really just unbelievable what they're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks,
we're
guys.
only here because you guys are building great companies, so we're just happy to be part of the story.
Thanks everyone for your time. I think Jason, we're ready for you.